Success is available to all of us if we can build self-discipline. Self-discipline is the secret to success. It is the key to success. It is the one thing that all successful people have in common. 100% of successful people have developed the discipline to do things that they don't feel like doing as a way of achieving the things that they really want in their life. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the single greatest secret to building more self-discipline. And I'm also going to share with you the number one misconception that people misunderstand about self-discipline. I've spent my entire life studying this. In fact, I've written one of the best-selling books of all time on this subject. And it's so simple, but so many of us don't really get it. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I want to dive in and start with what is it about self-discipline that most of us misunderstand. And here's what it is. Many of us think that if we struggle with self-discipline or if we haven't been self-disciplined, we think there's something wrong with us. We think that maybe we're not the lucky ones. We're not destined for success. Or we inaccurately write it off as, oh, I don't have enough willpower. But that's not at all true. If you struggle with self-discipline, it means that you have a perfectly functioning, healthy, normal human brain. If you understand a little bit about biology and the neuroscience of what's going on here, this will change your mindset and it'll help you understand why maybe you have struggled with this in the past, or maybe someone you know struggles with this, someone on your team, maybe it's someone in your family, or maybe it's you. But if you understand the way the brain works, you'll understand why that is. And you will understand also that it has nothing to do with the idea that there's something wrong with you. Quite the contrary. If you struggle with self-discipline, it means your brain is normal. Why? Because the key insight you need to understand is that the human brain is not designed for success. The human brain is designed for survival. The number one function of the human brain is to keep you alive. And keeping you alive comes down to conserving energy, doing what is safe, and doing what is familiar. But that's the opposite of success. Success is completely different. Success is about expending energy. Success is about doing things that are outside of your comfort zone, taking risks, doing things you've never done before, learning new things. And so success and survival are in conflict with the native design and default of the human brain. Once you understand this, you can start to leverage it to your advantage. For example, left to its own devices, the human brain will gravitate towards the path of least resistance. The reason that we called my book Take the Stairs, which has sold hundreds of thousands of copies, it's been translated into several languages worldwide, is because for most of us, if the last time you were in front of a set of escalators and a stairs, you probably took the escalator. At least that's what most people do. We live in an escalator world. People gravitate towards the path of least resistance. Why? Most of us don't consciously choose the escalator. We unconsciously choose the escalator because our perfectly functioning, healthy, normal human brain is designed to default to conserving energy, expending the minimum amount of energy. And that is the escalator. So we get on the escalator without thinking about it, left to its own default, left to its own design. But if you're going to be successful, you're going to have to rewire your brain. You're going to have to literally form new neural pathways in your brain. You're going to train your brain to think differently. You have to train your brain to process choices and make decisions based upon a different set of criteria from most people. The reason why we refer to these top 1%ers as ultra performers in the Take the Stairs book is because they truly are unusual. They are ultra, they are extreme, they are extraordinary, they are unusual. Struggling with self-discipline is not unusual. That is normal. That's the default. Learning to rewire your brain for success That is the extraordinary, but it is something that you can do, and it's so straightforward, and I'm going to share it with you here in just a minute. But you have to understand, first and foremost, you're left to its own device, the brain will default to the path of least resistance. You will default to the escalator. Now, if you want to build more discipline, if you want to become an ultra performer, if you want to experience success, if you want to be in the top 1%, then you need to develop what we refer to as the take the stairs mindset. And the take the stairs mindset is all about understanding one key distinction. And this is the number one strategy for immediately increasing and improving all of your self-discipline. It's something that we call the paradox principle of sacrifice. And before I share it with you, I want to share with you a story, an illustration from my own life. In Colorado, where I grew up, we are world famous for the Rocky Mountains. And to the western part of the state, we have the great Rocky Mountains. And so that's what most people think of when they think about my home state. But what they don't realize is that as a state, Colorado is divided almost exactly in half, topographically speaking. And so to the eastern part of the state are the Great Kansas Plains. And because of that unique topographical landscape, Colorado is one of the only places in the world that has both buffalo and cows in close proximity to one another. And there's a fantastic lesson for learning about the principles of success and building your self-discipline from studying the way that these two creatures respond to storms. So when storms come, storms almost always brew from the west, and what happens is they roll out towards the east. And what cows do is very natural. A cow can sense that a storm is coming from this direction, and so a cow will try to run east to get away from the storm. The only problem with that is that if you know anything about cows, you know they're not real fast. And so while they try to run east away from the storm actually catches up with them rather quickly. And without knowing any better, the cows continue to try to outrun the storm. But instead of outrunning the storm, they actually run with the storm, which maximizes the amount of pain and time and frustration they experience from that storm. Isn't that stupid? I mean, here's the thing. Humans do the same thing all the time. We spend so much of our lives trying to avoid the inevitable challenges that come along with the difficult circumstances that our very own choices have led us to be in. We know that we want to be healthier, but we choose the wrong things to eat, and we choose the wrong activities to engage in or not engage in. We know that we need to repair a relationship, but we choose not to engage in the constructive conversation that needs to happen if we're going to reconcile that relationship. We know that we want to get out of debt, but we choose to spend money instead of save it. Why? It's because that is the easiest thing to do in the short term. What we're doing is we're being the cow. And the key insight that the ultra performers have realized consciously that most of us have not is they have realized that all problems that are procrastinated on are only amplified. Problems procrastinated on are amplified. Waiting makes it worse. So what buffalo do is very unique for the animal kingdom. So buffalo will wait for the storm to cross right over the crest of the peak of the mountain. And as the storm rolls over the ridge, buffalo will turn and they will charge directly into the storm. They run at the storm, and by running at the storm, they run straight through it, which actually minimizes the amount of pain and time and frustration they experience from that storm. Notice how it's the exact same storm. It's such a great parallel and metaphor for success in life because all of us are dealing with the same types of storms. We have relationship battles, we have health struggles, financial issues. We're trying to be successful in our work life. We're trying to achieve whatever personal goals or professional goals that we have. And we don't always get to choose whether or not we have storms. We always have storms. The only choice that we have is how we respond to those storms. And more specifically here, when we respond to those storms. But this buffalo mindset is very representative of the take the stairs mentality of a one percenter, or what we call an ultra performer. Because here's what it teaches us. It teaches us that you want to be the buffalo. Why? not to make your life as hard as possible, but because of the pain paradox. So coming back to that, the paradox principle of sacrifice, which is the first principle in the Take the Stairs book, it's one of the fundamental principles of the entire book, is that easy short-term choices lead to difficult long-term consequences. The great paradox here is that everything that seems easy in life, like, buying things on credit even when we can't afford it, saying whatever we want emotionally without consideration for how it might impact somebody's feelings, eating whatever we want, and not exercising when we know we should, not making the sales call if we're in sales, not putting in that extra hard work. All of the things that seem easy in life are actually the very vehicles to the more difficult life. And inversely, the things that seem hard, the things that seem difficult, saving the money instead of spending it, doing extra work, investing in your personal development, reading the books, taking the courses, getting the coaching, those things that seem difficult in life are actually the vehicles to the easier life. But if you don't teach your brain to process that consciously, your brain will default always to whatever conserves the most amount of energy in the short term, because your brain isn't programmed for success. Your brain is programmed for survival, conserving energy. So that doesn't mean you're doomed for failure, and it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Again, it means you're normal, it means you're healthy, and it also means that you are capable of building the self-discipline that is required to become a successful person. How do you do that? You do that by realizing the paradox principle, that the difficult short-term choices lead to easy long-term consequences. It's realizing that problems that are procrastinated on are amplified. It's realizing that procrastination and indulgence are really nothing more than creditors that charge you interest. And so what is the strategy? So what then is this strategy to immediately build your self-discipline? It's very simple. You learn to leverage long-term vision to endure short-term sacrifice. You leverage long-term vision to endure short-term sacrifice. When I have a crystal clear vision of something that I want for my life or for my business or for my future, and I know what it is and I spend time thinking about it and I see it clearly, then there is naturally a strong connection biologically to the justification for why we would engage in activities that are difficult. It creates a context for action to take place, and our discipline engages automatically. It's not even a matter of willpower. It's a matter of context. Once I have a reason to do it, then there is a connection where my brain, my body automatically engages and it pushes me forward. But if I don't have a clear vision, or I don't spend much time thinking about it, or I never review it, then there is at best a convoluted and weak connection to how the sacrifices I'm asking myself to make today, or someone on my team, or my kids, or in my organization, there's no connection to how those short-term sacrifices are going to improve their life. They're detached from anything that would make their life better. And so this is one of the key insights that you need to realize, is that very often people come to me, maybe they read the Take the Stairs book, or they'll see me speak at their company's convention or something like that, and they'll come up to me afterwards and they'll say, Rory, I've always struggled with self-discipline, or I have this kid or this teammate who just struggles with self-discipline. And the reality is, it's not that people struggle as much from a lack of discipline as they do from a lack of vision. They don't have a clear enough picture of what they want for their life, and so there is no reason to make the sacrifices to get it. The sooner that you can clarify a person's purpose, the sooner you will see an increase in their daily performance. Another way of saying this is that discipline is not something that we have to build. Discipline is not something that we have to find. Discipline is not something that we either are fortunate and lucky and born with, or we don't have. We all have discipline, but here's the problem. Discipline becomes dormant in the absence of a dream. You have to connect the dots of the dream. You have to have the dream first. If you have the dream, if you have clarity about the dream, you spend time thinking about the dream, the brain will move in a direction to go, how can I make that come true? And the brain that was once defaulted to working against you, that was once defaulted to automatically moving you towards survival, moving you towards safety, moving you towards comfort. As you clarify the dream, as you clarify the purpose, as you leverage long-term vision, that brain will help you endure short-term sacrifice. That brain will automatically work for you in the other direction. It will start solving problems. It will start activating you. It will come alive because now you have a reason to get it. It's not that you struggle from a lack of discipline. It's probably that you struggle from a lack of vision. Discipline becomes dormant in the absence of a dream. But if you can create that dream, then you can build your self-discipline because you will leverage long-term vision to endure short-term sacrifice.